What's up, my fellow DJs? You're now tuned in to Behind the Beats with DJ Echo Vibes and DJ Scotts. Today, we're getting real about something too many of us face: burnout, stress, and the grind of overworking. Long nights, back-to-back gigs, no time to breathe it takes a toll. But don't trip. We've got the tools and tips to help you balance the hustle and protect your peace. Hit that like, drop a comment, and subscribe. Let's talk about it.
Welcome back to Behind the Beats. You know, we always love getting your feedback, and one thing that's been coming up a lot lately is this idea of what's the real deal behind being a DJ?
Yeah.
Not just the fun stuff we see on stage or online, but the actual, day-to-day demands, both mental and physical. And more importantly, how do you deal with those challenges and keep the passion going strong? So that's what we're diving into today, folks.
It's a really interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you think DJs, you think party, energy, and excitement. But there's a whole other side to it that we don't always see.
Absolutely.
So we've been digging into all sorts of insights from experienced DJs, even folks in the mental health field who work specifically with people in the music industry to try and get a clearer picture of what this lifestyle really looks like and how to make it sustainable.
Totally. And I think one of the biggest things that jumps out just from even thinking about it logically is the whole working nights thing. It's got to mess with your sleep big time, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's not just about feeling a bit tired. Our bodies, they're not really designed to be up all night, especially in those parts of the world where you have limited daylight hours in the winter. Imagine being a DJ. You're often traveling to gigs when it's dark, performing in these venues that have no natural light, then heading home when it's dark again.
Yeah, it's like a whole day without seeing the sun sometimes.
It really is. And that completely disrupts your natural sleep cycle.
Totally. And biologically, it's not just a preference thing, right?
No, not at all. You see, our bodies have this internal clock called the circadian rhythm, which regulates our sleep-wake patterns.
Right.
And this rhythm is heavily influenced by light, especially daylight. When your eyes perceive daylight, it sends a signal to your brain to be awake and alert, and it suppresses the production of melatonin.
Which is a sleep hormone, right?
Exactly. So when DJs try to sleep during the day, especially when there's daylight streaming through their windows, it's way harder to get that deep, restful sleep your body needs.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And I guess if you're constantly fighting against your natural body clock, it's bound to have some negative consequences, wouldn't you say?
For sure. And we actually found some really practical tips from the folks who've been doing this for a while, like setting an alarm not just to wake up, but to actually make sure you get a bit of daylight exposure, even if it's just for a short time each day. Apparently that can make a huge difference.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And then, of course, prioritizing sleep. Even with the late nights, they say aiming for at least 6 to 9 hours is crucial.
Absolutely.
And even little things like investing in some good blackout curtains to create a proper nighttime environment during the day.
Oh, blackout curtains are a lifesaver.
Yeah.
Honestly. That darkness really does help to signal to your brain that it's time to rest. And when we're talking about sleep deprivation, it's not just about feeling a bit groggy the next day. Chronic sleep deprivation, it can really mess with your mood. It affects your concentration, your ability to make decisions, and over the long term, it can even increase your risk of some serious health problems.
It's way more serious than people realize.
It really is. And then on top of that, you have this weird paradox of being surrounded by people, big crowds even, but still feeling isolated and lonely.
Right. It's kind of counterintuitive when you think about it.
It is.
You're there to provide the music, get the party going, but the actual lifestyle can be pretty solitary. All that traveling alone, arriving at the venue alone, sometimes even that DJ booth can feel like its own little island,
Yeah, I get that. And think about the interaction too. While you're connecting with the crowd through music, it's often a one-way flow.
Right.
It's not the same as having those deep, meaningful conversations, those back and forth interactions that we need for our social well-being. You're so focused on delivering a great set, managing requests, that there's not really much time or space for those genuine connections.
It's interesting, isn't it? And it's not just solo acts either. Even DJs who tour with a whole crew, they can still experience those bouts of loneliness.
Oh, for sure. In fact, some pretty big names in the industry have spoken about this openly, like Deadmo 5, Steve Aoki. They've talked about the challenges of being on the road constantly, away from family and friends. And it's kind of a sobering reminder that even someone like Avicii, who played to these massive audiences, was battling with that same sense of isolation.
Yeah, it's a reminder that being surrounded by people doesn't necessarily equate to feeling connected.
Exactly.
Like the nature of touring, the constant movement, that can actually make it difficult to build and maintain those really close relationships.
Absolutely. And I think another huge pressure point is the whole performance aspect.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's often freelance work, which can be really unstable.
Yeah, it's like you're only as good as your last gig.
Exactly.
And that creates this constant need to prove yourself. You got to bring that energy, play those killer sets every single time.
And if you think about it, that kind of precarity is something a lot of freelancers face, not just DJs.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't have the security of a regular paycheck, paid time off, things like that. So there's this added pressure to always be available, always be hustling to keep the income flowing.
It's like that fear of missing out on a gig, even if you need a break, is a real thing.
Oh, yeah. And it's a vicious cycle because that fear of burning out can actually prevent you from taking the breaks you need to prevent burnout.
Wow.
And then on top of that, you have the competitive nature of the industry, the constant influx of new talent.
Yeah, it's always evolving. There's always that thought in the back of your mind, like, am I going to get replaced? Or am I going to slip? Or is my sound getting stale?
Exactly. And that creates a whole other level of anxiety. It's like, how do you maintain your passion and creativity when you're constantly under that kind of pressure?
So it paints a pretty demanding picture, right?
It does.
And it makes sense that burnout is a real issue within the DJ community.
It is a real issue. And we actually came across some really powerful personal stories from DJs who have been through it.
Yeah. And I think sharing those kinds of experiences can be so valuable, especially for those who might be struggling in silence.
Definitely.
Like hearing someone else say, hey, I've been there, I get it. That can be incredibly validating.
It normalizes those feelings. And what was really interesting was the variety of ways burnout presented itself in these stories.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like we heard from someone who was working a full-time job in insurance and DJing on the side. And eventually the pressure of juggling both just became too much. He was totally burnt out.
Yeah, it's like when it becomes too much of a good thing.
It can be.
And then we also heard from someone who was super involved in the music scene. He was working for a magazine and DJing at night, living and breathing music.
Wow.
But eventually he hit a wall and decided to make a big change.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he actually transitioned into full-time teaching.
That's a big change.
I know. But it just goes to show that burnout can affect anyone, no matter your background or how much you love what you do.
Absolutely. And one of the key signs of burnout that kept coming up in these stories was this shift in how DJing felt.
Oh, yeah. Like when the passion starts to fade.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When it goes from being something you love, that
Yeah.
source of joy and excitement, to feeling like just another chore on your to-do list.
Like a job almost.
Yeah, that's a pretty clear sign that something needs to change.
For sure. And one of our sources actually had this great phrase for it. They called it, after the ecstasy, the laundry.
Uh-huh. That's a good one.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's such a perfect way to describe that stark contrast between the highs of performing and then coming back down to earth and dealing with all the mundane stuff.
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's all about finding that balance. You can't just live on those performance highs. You need that groundedness, those everyday routines, those moments of self-care to make it sustainable.
Yeah. And the DJs we spoke to had some really great advice on how to actually do that, like prioritizing community, connecting with other people who get it, making time for those activities that bring you joy, whether it's being out in nature or pursuing a creative hobby or anything that helps you recharge.
That's so important.
And we even heard from a DJ who found a really unique balance.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was playing gigs on the weekends and actually studying therapy during the week.
Wow.
I know, right? And it just shows that it's possible to combine different passions, different aspects of your life in a way that actually enhances your well-being.
Definitely. So with all this in mind, like the pressures, the personal stories, what kind of advice can we offer to those who are just starting out in the DJ world? Like how can they proactively take care of their mental health and maybe avoid some of the pitfalls?
I'm so glad you asked that because that's like the whole point of this deep dive, right? To not just acknowledge the challenges, but offer some real solutions. So one of the biggest pieces of advice, and this might seem counterintuitive, is learning to say no.
Especially early on. It's so easy to get caught up in the excitement and want to take every gig that comes your way.
Totally.
But that can lead to burnout so quickly.
Yep. Overcommitting, especially when you're still figuring things out, can be super detrimental. Learning to set those boundaries, to pace yourself, is crucial for a long and healthy career.
Totally agree. And alongside that, prioritizing your physical health is non-negotiable. That means staying hydrated. And that doesn't mean just energy drinks and alcohol, especially late at night.
Yeah, those dehydrate you.
They do.
It's important to actually drink water.
Water is key. Making sure you get enough sleep, aiming for that consistent 7 to 8 hours a night, is essential. And making conscious food choices. I know it's tempting to live on junk food and late-night snacks when you're on the go, but those habits will catch up to you eventually.
And don't forget exercise.
Oh yes, so important. Whether it's hitting the gym, going for walks, finding something you enjoy that gets you moving, it does wonders for both your physical and mental health.
And then, of course, there's the mental health side of things.
Right, and there are so many great strategies you can put in place to proactively take care of your mental well-being. Things like meditation, mindfulness practices, those can be really helpful in managing stress and anxiety. Making sure to take breaks from DJing, from all the screens and digital stimulation.
It's so easy to get sucked into that digital world, especially in this industry.
It really is. But taking that time to disconnect, to let your mind rest and recharge, is essential for your creativity and your overall well-being. And don't hesitate to reach out for professional support if you need it. Therapists, counselors, they can provide a safe and confidential space to work through any challenges you're facing.
Totally. There are even organizations like the Music Industry Therapist Collective that specifically work with people in the music industry. So they really understand the unique pressures and demands.
That's awesome. And something else that can be really helpful is cultivating a positive mindset. Focusing on the things you're grateful for, the positive aspects of your career, and creating a vision for your future that feels exciting and fulfilling.
Oh, and don't forget about those hobbies and interests outside of DJing.
Yes, so important. Having those outlets that bring you joy, that help you relax and recharge, is crucial. Whether it's spending time in nature, pursuing an artistic hobby, or whatever it is that lights you up.
Absolutely.
Having that balance between your passion and other areas of your life is key.
And connecting with others who get it, who understand the lifestyle, is so important too. Building a supportive network of friends, family, other DJs, people you can talk to, share experiences with, and get support from. And having those connections outside the music industry can also be really grounding. It's like a reminder that there's a whole world out there beyond the club scene.
Exactly.
And if you're feeling like your passion for music is starting to wane, try exploring new genres, experimenting with different sounds and mixing techniques.
Or learning new technologies, pushing your creative boundaries, even taking some time to research something completely different, whether it's marketing and promotion for your DJ career or something totally unrelated, can be incredibly stimulating and help to keep things fresh.
Yeah, I love that. And we can't forget about the role of technology in all of this. Being mindful of your social media use, setting boundaries with that always-on mentality can do wonders for your mental health. And being aware of the potential for substance abuse in a nightlife scene, actively prioritizing a healthy lifestyle, is so important.
Yeah, the temptation is definitely there. But taking care of yourself needs to be a top priority.
Absolutely. And even simple things like playing different types of gigs, trying out different venues, can help to prevent boredom and keep things interesting.
I think it's so clear that while the world of DJing can be incredibly rewarding and exciting, it comes with its own set of challenges. It's demanding, it's fast-paced, and it can take a toll on both your mental and physical health if you're not careful.
But the good news is that by understanding these potential pitfalls and by actively implementing those self-care strategies, setting those boundaries, knowing when to seek support, you can absolutely thrive in this career.
Exactly. And remember, prioritizing your well-being isn't selfish. It's essential for your creativity, your longevity, and your overall happiness.
So true. So I'd love to hear from you, our listeners. What resonates with you most from all of this? What are your own experiences with the mental and physical demands of being a DJ? And what are your go-to strategies for staying healthy and keeping that passion alive?
Yeah, let's keep the conversation going.
Absolutely. And here's a thought to leave you with. We've talked a lot about the individual responsibility of taking care of yourself. But what about the role of the wider community? How can we as an industry better support the mental and physical well-being of the DJs who bring so much joy and energy to our lives?
A really good question.
It is, isn't it? Like, how can we create a culture that not only celebrates the highs, but also acknowledges and supports the real challenges that come with this lifestyle?
I think that's something worth reflecting on.
Totally.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for listening.